And this is Ken Kraetzer for CaMMVetsMedia. Army football season getting started. Saturday night, the Black Knights will play at Louisiana Monroe and have a chance to visit with one of our Army Football Huddle members, and that is Steve Chaloult from the class of 1992, former Army offensive lineman. Steve, how are you?
Doing fantastic. It's game week.
It certainly is, and we're all excited about that. New look for the Army offense, new offensive coordinator, Drew Thatcher. A lot of experience on the offensive line, but we're going to have a freshman center on Saturday night. Brady Small will make his debut, impressed everybody. And so, what's your thought about the start of the season?
Well, yeah, I'm super excited about the offensive line. We've got some beef up front for the first time. I think, pretty much across the board, we're plus or minus 5 pounds away from being at 300 across the board. So it's exciting there. I think we've got some skill positions that are going to be, going to be showing us what they can do. And it'll be interesting to see certain situational downs on how the play calling and how the running the plays out of the shotgun is going to work for us. A 3rd and 2 has always been an interest of me to see, how we're going to get the ball into like a Buchanan's hands, who's a little bit lighter this year, and he's going to be 5 yards in the backfield. So how do we get that momentum, get him up and get him into positive gain so we can get that 2 yards or 1 yard we need. So it's going to be interesting to see the tempo and staying on schedule and see what happens.
Very good. Well, the offensive line, the starters, left tackle Jordan Booby Law, who's at 305, 6'4", Jackson Filipowicz, left guard 295, Brady Small at center at 309, Connor Finuchin at 6'4", 315, right tackle Shane Buckingham, 6'4", 305. So a lot bigger this year, but a lot of experience on that line, except for the freshman, Brady Small.
Yeah, our offenses have perennially been successful right up the middle, right? Center, quarterback, fullback is always, setting the tempo for our offense. So we've got a freshman center. We've got a newly anointed quarterback in a new system, and we've got a plethora of fullbacks. But we will have running backs that are going to be right by that quarterback that haven't played in that position. So it'll be really interesting to see how we adjust and whether or not we can control that line of scrimmage on the inside. I mean, it bodes well that we have a freshman. If you look back at our centers, the last couple of centers we've had have played a long time, and they started early, and they were very, very successful. And they were, Holland and Holland was amazing out of Arizona, and then our center last year was Connor was just an amazing player and human being also. So we've always been pretty solid at the center position, and I think we're not breaking with tradition. We got another freshman that can develop and anchor that line for years to come.
Well, that's what Drew Thatcher said the other night, that they thought that Brady Small had tremendous potential. They were working some kinks out of his game, but they said, why not just let him learn, and we'll develop him with this opportunity. Now, I'm not quite sure whether this has been driven by an injury or whether they just really wanted to elevate Brady Small at this time.
Yeah, it might be a little bit of both. He may not be ready at that point in time, but one person's injury is another person's opportunity. It'll be interesting to see if he has the maturity to play at the Division I level.
Yeah. How do you feel about the offense overall that Drew Thatcher has brought in? From what I've seen, it's obviously the shotgun. It is some days in practice are passing an awful lot, almost all the time. Other days, like the scrimmage on Saturday, it was more traditional option plays, letting the fullbacks run, and with quick passes. But what do you see in this new offense? It certainly seemed to be a reaction to the change in the blocking rules.
Yeah, so if you look at if you look at throwing the ball a lot of what they did in springtime and the early part of the fall practice. And that's understandable, right? That we haven't thrown the ball, excuse me, a ton in the last, 15 years, 20 years. So, we had to get more used to that. And I think you had to super saturate our quarterbacks and our receivers to do that. And then, we had to roll back towards the running game, which I think we did as of recently, the last scrimmage and a half. And I think it's going to be a balanced attack. Early on, when I talked with Drew and I talked with the coaching staff, they were anticipating if they had to throw a dart at the wall, it was going to be 12, 13, 14, 15 passes a game. So if you're running 60 plays, you're talking about, probably about a third to a quarter of the plays would be passing plays. So that's a little bit more balanced, but it's not 3/4 of the plays are passing down. So, and I think I embrace the fact that we're going to open the game up a little bit more and get the ball outside, because we've been so stuck in the mud with fullback, quarterback, keeper, that we it's going to be exciting to see. And I think the coaching staff will play what they're given, and they'll exploit that. So, it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out, but I'm excited to see what that balance looks like.
And certainly Bryson Daly has won the starting quarterback job. He's got some playing time last year. He got a nice touchdown run against Massachusetts. Played in the spring game, got quite a bit of opportunity there. And then you've got his backup as Dwayne Coleman, a sophomore, who also played in the spring game. I thought played pretty well in the spring game last year. And then you've got freshmen beyond that. Larry Robinson, I thought, showed a lot of poise in the scrimmages. And so it's a little thin at quarterback, but we'll be interested to see how Bryson Daly embraces this opportunity.
Yeah, it definitely will. I mean, he showed flashes last year, and now it's his team, and the one thing we never really worry about at West Point is whether or not they're up for the leadership challenge. I mean, he'll command the huddle, he'll go in there, and he'll be a heck of a leader. You've got probably got 99 leaders on that team. So that portion of it, which sometimes is overlooked for quarterbacks, will be there. It'll be in place. It's really going to take, the first time he gets hitting the chops and hitting the mouth, what does he do? Does he bounce back up? Does he get going? I think that's going to be, a lot of what this offense is going to be like. What happens after the first turnover? What happens after the first sudden change? How does the team react to that? We're going to see the true character of this team when these things start playing out for us. We talked earlier meetings. We talked about that there aren't really any big names on this team that we anticipate coming back. So there's a lot of room for people to step up. I mean, Lowen's probably the biggest name we have. We don't have the Broughtons of the world. We don't have the Connor Bishops of the world. It's a who's who of new names. So, but this is an institution that covets leadership, and I think that they're clamoring to step up and show what they can do.
Yeah, and then you've got really some terrific playmakers, and you've got the two fullbacks, Jacoby Buchanan and Tyson Riley. And John Marshall, I saw him catch a touchdown pass from Dwayne Coleman in practice yesterday. And then, of course, Isaiah Alston, who had a nice catch for a touchdown in the scrimmage on Saturday in the left corner of the end zone. So Army's got some playmakers. Miles Stewart has shown he can carry the ball and be productive. And quite a few other receivers, Josh Lingenfelter, Liam Fortner, is going to make a start at wide receiver. It's kind of interesting to look at the 2D chart and see 3 wide receiver positions for Army. No more slot backs. So it's going to be, I call it the spread option offense, the hybrid spread option. So it should be, there's a lot of potential in this offense. And so it'll be interesting to see. What are your thoughts about Louisiana Monroe? They're a school that Army has seen at Mikey Stadium twice. Now makes a trip down there. We saw in reviews of their team they lost 7 starters due to the transfer portal. 5 of whom were on offense, quarterback, 2 tackles, and 2 running backs. But they still have a very big offensive line, almost all 315-pound players. So they've got some size, and the coaches were saying it's a little more challenging to scout a team that is brought in. Had a lot of quick change due to transfer portal, players leaving, players coming in. That it's you don't know as what you're going to get as much as maybe in prior years.
Yeah, it is tough. I mean, even you look at betting lines on college football games early part of the season, it's a crapshoot. I mean, as you watch football games from last weekend, watching UMass and watching them play, and their quarterback that played against us last year was now a wide receiver. The quarterback that they have in now is a transfer in from a Power 5 school. So teams can change very rapidly. In Louisiana Monroe, it's got some players that came in. Some were playing for Texas A&M and coming in. So I mean, whether or not you failed or succeeded at Texas A&M, you still were recruited by Texas A&M. So there's some talent there. Maybe they just couldn't find their position and what they were going to do, or somebody was just too much better than they were at that point. So it's going to be interesting to see how they line up. Now you can bring talent in, but then it's got to gel, and you don't know how that's going to gel. So, I would rather have a team that has been together, fought together, leads together, and is gelled than a team that's been brought together as an all-star team and it isn't there yet. So I think it's tough to scout, but I think we're probably going to be more well-oiled than they will be for their first game of the year. So I think there's an advantage there for us. What I get worried about the most is we got a lot of beef up front, but what is our conditioning going to look like? Again, we're going down to a hot, humid southern state like we did against Coastal last year. And we were, quite frankly, on the defensive line gassed last year. And we weren't on the where, it was a lot for us to be chasing Grayson around, and it was hot and it was humid.
It was.
It was swampy, and you're not going to get more swampy than Louisiana this time of year. So, how do we got a bunch of 300-pounders? What kind of condition are they in? And then our defensive line, which our defensive line is a little bit lighter than they've been in the past, but are they going to be able to run, pursue, and what type of rotation are they going to have to be on to keep up?
What are your thoughts on the Army defense this year? One notable addition is Kyle Lewis is projected to be the starter at nose tackle. And it's good to see Spencer Jones back in the lineup. As a senior, he's battled injuries in his career. And then you have a player like Jabari Moore that's a 5th-year starter and has played a lot of games, I think over 40 games for Army. Started early in his career and brings a lot of experience to defense. And not to mention Quinn Hammonds, who Coach Nate Woody was describing how much speed he brings to that position of safety. So we'll see a lot of experience. As you said, no big names in the defense. You don't have Andre Carter. You don't have Markel Broughton or Elijah Riley, Cole Christensen, all who are now on NFL rosters from past years. But it seems like you've got some good players and you've got some depth. They talk a lot about Trey Sophia on defense at the outside linebacker role, as well as Jimmy Chaloult'. So we'll see. I think, as I agree, I think Army could be better prepared than Louisiana Monroe for the opener. The conditioning will be different. It's been an unusually cool August, I would say, in the New York area this year, not like some past years. So it'll be serious. You have a prediction on the game Saturday night?
Yeah, I do, and I think the 5 areas to watch for this game, and if we win 4 out of 5, I think we're going to be I think we'll win the ball game, but there isn't much area of wiggle room in this. Is number one, we got to win the turnover battle for sure coming out of this. We see how the new offense is, and we got to sudden change and winning turnover battle. And quite frankly, Louisiana Monroe last year was abysmal at getting turnovers, so we should be in good shape with that. We got to win the conditioning battle that we talked about with that swampy, and it's going to be hot, humid. So we got to be on top of the conditioning battle. Special teams, we always got to be on top of special teams. And Soterio, he always has them ready to go. A block punt, a punt return for a touchdown, something like that will make a huge difference in a game like this, a huge momentum shift. But we've got to be on point with our special teams. We got to win. We like to call it the first down. In any drive, if we get the first down, we're starting to flip field position, and we're starting to creating an issue for the defense and giving our defense a little bit of a rest. And then number 5 would be is sudden change, and how are we going to handle any type of sudden change, whether it be on offense or on defense. If we get a turnover or a turnover happens to us, how do we handle that emotion? How do we get back on track, or how do we exploit it? So those 5 areas are things to be watching for. And then, in terms, I think we're a 24-17 victor, 24-17.
Okay, I think our team the other night had Army in the 30s offensively. Defense about the same. So Steve Chaloult, great to have a chance to hear your preview. Do you have any thoughts on the big picture of college football? So much happening with conference realignment, dealing with NILs. Here in the mid-majors are commenting that the NILs are the thing that are tough to deal with and compete with. Coach Terry Bowden mentioned that in his pregame talk this year. What do you see in the big picture?
Yeah, I mean, I think NIL's got to be. There's got to be. I mean, it's the Wild West right now, and there's tampering going on. There are a number of things that are happening where coaches are contacting players while they're still at other universities, and they're having bidding wars and other things like that. And anything that becomes new will shift wildly in one direction, and then wildly in the other direction. Those things they go back and forth. So it's interesting that somebody's got to get involved, but the problem is the NCAA has lost any teeth at this point. So there's got to be some sort of a governing body or regulations put into place so that this is just not going unchecked, because it's going to end up with the NFL, then you're going to have a major league college football, and then there are going to be a bunch of minor leagues after that, because everything's going to be so disparaging in terms of talent and abilities that it's going to end up hurting college football long term. It'll hurt TV revenue and other things on that. So it's definitely needs to be figured out quickly, and I think people have buried their heads in the sand far too long that this has got to get under control.
Well, I've heard some even talk about wanting to get the federal government involved. That's looking at what's good for education overall. Some have said, I think even Rick Pitino and a few others said, maybe football needs to be separated out from the other sports.
Well, if it comes to that in basketball, I don't disagree. I don't disagree that basketball is being hurt by all of the changes and all the conference realignments. And I mean, it's going to be tough for a basketball schedule to go from the West Coast to the East Coast, just because that's where you are in that particular conference. It's that doesn't make any sense. So I don't disagree there. And listen, I'm a former Army football player and a government employee for a while, but I mean, I don't think the government getting involved in anything is a good thing in terms of making things better and more efficient. So I think it will. I think there needs to be a group that's put in charge, and then setting up the right rules, and then having some teeth behind those rules. But I don't think this is a governmental thing at all.
Okay, Steve Chaloult, good to see you and get your views on the opener for Army football on Saturday night down at Louisiana Monroe, 7 o'clock start, can be watched on the NFL Network nationally. And our friends Sam Houston from the class of '87 will be on site. And we'll look forward to getting the full huddle back together next week and taking in results of the first game and then the first home game against Delaware State a week from Saturday. See, Chaloult', great to see you, and great to look forward to another season of Army football.
Appreciate it, Ken.
You have a good one. This is Ken Kraetzer for CaMMVetsMedia. We cover cadets, midshipmen, military, and veterans proudly since 2008. I want to acknowledge our new sponsor, the New York Yankees, the 27-time National World Series champions, and we appreciate their support. So thanks to Steve Chaloult, and thank you for watching.